Hey everybody, how you doing? This is LVA Tour of the Fancy Action Now, and this is me live in the game studio, and it has been a while. My studio was in a disarray because the shelf that I had mounted on that wall there. I didn't mount it strongly enough, and I loaded that thing up with game consoles, and it was pulling off the wall, and literally the molding, like the white molding on the particle board had pulled off of the back, like it had slipped off because it was just like it wasn't coming off. Like, I'm not that bad. It wasn't coming off, but it was definitely sagging, and it wasn't, it just was not hung with enough support. So I had to redo everything. So it took me a little while to get back in the game. And this is my first video after I put a couple of additional supports on it and put everything back up and cleaned everything off and got all set back up again so that I can actually start to broadcast some more content for you. So anyway, Sony and I think this is important. This is an important video. Like, not all videos are, a lot of them are just goof. It's just, a lot of them are just like, I'm going to play this game. I might as well play it online. Now, we're going to talk about today, to get to the point, we're going to talk about, while I look at what's going on with Game Pass this month, and there's a lot of really interesting crap on Game Pass this month. Sony is going to be closing the PS3 store, the PS Vita and PSP store. And I struggled with what to call this video, or not, what to put as my tag. Like, I put as the current tag, I put let me make sure I pop this chat out just so I can be courteous. Make sure that I'm observing this chat and making sure that nobody gets little bent about that. Anybody wants to talk to me, they can absolutely talk to me. So yeah, there you go. Beautiful. So I'm looking at the chat. I got the chat right there. Chat's right there. There. That away. That away. Yeah. So I put, are we surprised? And I think I'm going to do a separate video on video games as a hobby versus video games as a business. Because a lot of people are like, and again, I think it's good in the sense that the community speaks up, because then a lot of times these companies will go ahead and rethink and they'll put off their plan, but it's only put off for a certain period of time. Now, the gaming community has changed things like loot boxes, DMCA, a lot of, like the launch of the Xbox One. I mean, that thing was just a Connect, I mean, the power of the consumer is strong. But sometimes companies will even go against that anyway. But the idea that PlayStation, the company, or Sony, the company, is obligated to keep these game services running indefinitely is not realistic. So, like, when I say, are you surprised? Now, I think it was Review Tech USA. Review Tech USA said this shows the weakness of digital media. And I think that's an important point to discuss, because we've talked a lot about that. So let me say this. What is going to happen once the most mainstream console out of those three is the PS3. And I love the PS3, and I have a huge collection of 450 games. It's a wonderful system. There's tons of like really cool stuff on it. And I just recently downloaded, and I'm gonna have to download it again on one of my other PS3s. I have two PS3s, active PS3s. Was Left 4 Dead 4. Or not Left 4 Dead 4. House of the Dead 4. House of the Dead 4 is available for download on the PS3. And I recommend you go and get it. If you have a PS3, I recommend you pay the money, you buy it, you download it, because it's going away. It never released as a physical release. And I understand sometimes limited games and, limited run and other services go ahead and drop these games sometimes and sometimes not. And if the digital access is taken away, your access is taken away. Now, what about the game updates? And all I'm just saying is, let's say you get a vintage PS3, you clean it up, you hook it up, and you've got a game that needs an update. Are they going to continue to support the updates? That's another question. So they may not continue to support updates going forward. So some of your games, you may permanently lose content or access to the content. See, that's the word. It's access. Digital content, you are not guaranteed access because you don't have a physical license to the product. So there you go, right? Do you have the physical rights to it? So again, there are PS3 games. Let's say there is no updating service available for PS3, because whether or not they do it when they close the store, they will do it eventually. There will be no more support for these systems. And I'm actually surprised that they supported the PS3 as long as they have. Again, sometimes you got to look at it like, well, are they getting any ROI out of maintaining that store? See, again, what happens is somebody may take a look at it and say, well, we just crossed a threshold where we're only break even on the PS Store at this point, or we're losing money. Sony's a business. And some people are a little bit more cutthroat than others in terms of their attitudes about that. Some people, there may be some people in the Sony Corporation of authority that work, on the PS3 store, and they'll say, let's keep it going a little bit longer. We're still getting this much traffic. We're still getting this much revenue. But at some point in time, it's going to hit that diminishing level of return. I mean, think about the lifespan of the PS3. When did that bad boy launch, man? When did that bad boy launch? I'm curious. Let's see. When did that bad boy launch? Let's go to a new tab. PS3 launch date. Launch date, yeah, boom. It was released November 11th, 2006. Okay. So 15 years ago. All right, so 15 years ago, the PlayStation 3 was released unto the world. 15 years, man. That is a marvelous run. I mean, and it is still a viable console. I'm not saying it's not a viable console, but I personally think, I don't understand why it isn't just part of the larger store. Like, why don't they just have a store that includes it all? I mean, I personally think that makes sense. I mean, if I go, I mean, you have so many generations at this point. The PS5 store, it's just one storefront. You know what I mean? I guess it may involve licensing commitments. Like if you move certain licenses from one, you might have an agreement on the PS3 store and not the PS4, PS5 store, and you have to go back and renegotiate those agreements. That's possible. That's possible. But, again, it's getting so big. You got to remember, too, PS3, gaming was still kind of a niche thing. It wasn't the number one entertainment medium ever. And just so you know, just in case you feel like, oh, I'm a gamer, a little bit of a geek or whatever like that, video games is the number one entertainment media on planet Earth. It isn't TV, it isn't movies, it is video games. So gamers, you are the culture. You are the mainstream, baby. But so are we surprised? Are we surprised that the PS3 store is being closed, or the PSP store? When did that launch? When did the PSP launch? All right, baby, let's look. PSP launch date. Japan in 2004 and America in 2005. Okay, so yeah, 16 years. 16 years. And we'll look at the Vita. I've been wanting to get a Vita. 2011. Oh, Japan. In North America, Europe, 2012. Okay, so that's 9 years. That's 9 years. And I personally think, and the Vita isn't exactly blowing up the world in terms of sales, right? So, they're looking at it as a business and saying, we've had this open for 15 years. We've had this one open for 16 years. We've maintained this one for 9 years. And we're not making money. Again, businesses continue to do things as long as they continue to make money. And they may run at a loss for a period of time, but they're not going to maintain that indefinitely. Let's see. Let me do my light here. Oh, yeah. There you go. So they're not going to maintain that indefinitely. They're not, and we shouldn't expect them to. But then you go back to, do you have any authority in digital media? Okay, it's kind of like you buy a digital game, and let's say your computer or your gaming system crashes. You get a new system, you log back in, and it doesn't show that you have that game on your profile, and they lost the key, or they lost whatever it was. What do you have? You don't even have a physical receipt. You have a bank statement, perhaps, where you show, okay, on this date, this is where they took my money for this thing. And they're probably going to settle it with you. You're going to have to go through some jumps and, get that returned to you. But hell, I ran into this with like Uplay and Blood Dragon. I bought Blood Dragon on Steam, and I created some Uplay account like way back in the day. Have no idea what my credentials are. I tried to find my credentials. They weren't working. So I'm like, okay, I'll create a new account. And they're like, well, you have an existing account, so we can't verify you. Well, I don't know what my credentials are. And I sent a little message to them. I'm like, hey, nobody's ever gotten back to me. So I'm like, well, I have Blood Dragon in other formats, a physical format. Okay. So therein lies there is a personal example. I wanted to play Blood Dragon. I own Blood Dragon in Steam. It is on my Steam profile. I try to play it. It says you must log into your Uplay account to play this game, because it's been so long. These updates are God knows what else. And I'm like, I didn't know what my credentials were. And it's like, well, then you have to create an account. I'm like, I created an account, and now there's an account conflict. I'm just trying to play Blood Dragon, baby. And, so I go on to the Uplay, and I'm like, hey, I had an account. This is my Steam handle. I've paid for the game. It's in my, save game. It's in my games list. I want to play it. Can you retrieve my credentials or blend the accounts or do something? And nothing. I'll even go into Steam right now. No messages for me. So it's just become a hassle to utilize something that I've paid for, my property. So you have to ask yourself something. Is it really your property? They have wanted, in video games, they have wanted to distance us. It's a cost-saving thing. It's good for the environment. You're not producing all these games that sit in landfills that if they don't sell. You're not producing all this plastic, which, requires petroleum and, all the rest of it. I get it, but you're the distance between you and your property is far, far more. So like here, this is a new acquisition for me. This is Fear Factor, right? It's Fear Factor. Kind of a cool, ahead of its time, graphically impressive game for the PS1 from Eidos, Fear Effect. And it's 4 discs. It's 4 discs, right? So it is kind of a survival horror in a way. And yeah, there's a few more. So Fear Effect, right? Now I own this lock, stock, and 2 smoking barrels, baby. So I can pop this in. I have an original PlayStation. I have a PlayStation 2, a PlayStation 3, a PlayStation 4. 4 won't play it, but I've got a backward compatible PlayStation 2, or I'm sorry, 3. So I can play that anytime I want. I can load it up, play it anytime I want. I can be in my boxers, eating an oversized burrito from Moe's, and in the privacy of my own living room, and nobody's the wiser, right? So, but again, Blood Dragon on Steam that I own and I paid for, I currently cannot access it and cannot play it because of Uplay and my access and my account and all this other crap. I mean, I have an account with Steam. I paid for it on Steam. Why can't I just play it? So, and now I have to go through hoops in the hopes. Sounds like a basketball charity, doesn't it? Hoops in the hopes that I can, at some point in time, figure things out with Uplay and Ubisoft to allow me to play the game that I already own. Have I ranted enough on that? I hope so. All right. I don't have my chat up. Hold on. Let me see if there's anybody there. Okay, no. So, what is that going to do to the physical media that people own for the PS3? Again, if you don't have the support for updates and things like that, but still, many of the games on the PS3 are going to be playable without update. Some won't be, but many of them, most of them, I would say, are going to be available to play without update. But if you can't update, you can still play the majority of that library. What is that going to do to the physical media? It's just like the game systems that had PT on it. That's a microcosm. If you have a PS3 that has PT on it, or a PS4 that has PT on it, you can sell that console for more money because it cannot be acquired in any other way. Right? It can't be acquired in any other way. And when the PS3 store closes, a lot of those games will not be able to be played or acquired in any other way other than the physical medium. So PS3 machines will go up in value, and everybody's PS3, PS Vita, and PSP physical games will increase in value because there won't be any other way to access them. I mean, you're going to see some of it on the PS4, PS5 store. You'll see some stuff. But when those stores go down, all that physical media becomes the only way to access those games, thereby increasing their value. So again, it's like Rule of Rose, or something like that. It's like you can emulate that game if you want. You can emulate it, or You can you get repro copies, those kind of things. The repro scene will explode on that kind of thing as well. Like black market repro, underground will explode as well. See, sometimes I think that's why they keep them up as long as they do, is that so that they avoid third party and piracy and reproductions and that kind of stuff, which eats into their profits. So, it's in their interest to maintain access as long as they possibly can. But once it becomes a money sink, why bother, right? So this is Sony. Like, a lot of people are like, this is bad, and yes, in a way it is. It's bad, but it's inevitable. And again, it does. Back to Review Tech USA. It showcases, and he wants to call it a negative, but I would say it's the reality. You can't have everything all the time, and gamers actually make out pretty well a lot of times. But I would have to say is the reality of digital media and video games is that you don't have the true ownership of physical media, of being able to take that case down, put it in a player, and that is going to increase anybody holding physical game media. You're never going to lose money on it because, when those digital stores go down, that's it. The door is closed. The window is closed. You can't get in that house unless you own it, baby. You know what I'm saying? And and you could say, well, what are you going to do? How much money are you going to make? And, blah, 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 blah. Well, I got to tell you, my collection keeps going up in value significantly. So and some of these games that you just can't get anymore, those are the ones that really get crazy. I mean, it's just, it's just nuts. So, but the genuine article. It's always like, money talks and BS walks. When you have the genuine article, you've got all the rights in the world, and you've got leverage. You can pull this out, and you can use it, and just whatever you want to do with it, use it, sell it, gift it, whatever you want to do with it, it's yours. You own, right? And the more we go down that digital road, and it's going there, baby. It's going there because it gives them all the rights, and they don't have to worry. And you know what? This is the real question. This is the real question. If anybody watches this video, this is what I want a response to in the comments. Do you think video game companies have a problem with repros, emulation, and people being able to own and resell physical media without paying them a royalty? You got to remember, it is the number one entertainment media in the world. So think of Napster and, the FBI warnings on movie piracy and all the rest of it. You can never completely stamp it out, especially in a digital realm. But do you think they look at the market? Do you think gaming companies, publishers, etc., the license holders, do you think they look at the repro scene and the physical media that they have to pay for? They have to pay for the physical media, and people are making crazy bank. They're paying their $50-$60. They have a complete license. They have the physical media, and they can resell it for whatever they want as long as the market will bear. So they can get their money back. Plus, some of these games that are relatively rare and sought after are, going for hundreds of dollars. And people are buying them, selling them, reselling them, opening gaming stores, used gaming stores with game media. I mean, entire businesses being run just on reselling old game media that you paid to develop and you own the license to. But there's nothing you can do because you're selling an unlimited license to somebody when they buy physical media. When they buy the disc and this is settled law. When you have the physical, you've paid your money and you have possession of the physical media, you are in full right. You have full license to do what you wish with it. Do you think video game companies get upset with that? Do you think they get mad because, or do you think that they consider that they're losing money, or people are making money on their backs because you own it 100%, and you can resell it. You can open up a stand at a flea market. You can open up a little shop and sell used video games, or you can, you do whatever you want. You can play it, and you can have a YouTube channel and generate revenue. I mean, think about it. Some guy that plays, like, let's just say SNK fighting games on his channel, and he can run that game whenever he wants. He can run video on it. He can monetize his channel. He can play that game and generate revenue, even a living off of that. And he didn't make that game. He didn't create the license or pay the artists and or programmers or any of that, right? How would you feel about that? Let's say you created something, you sold it, and you made your money. Okay, and now you see, 5-10 years down the road, people are like making a serious bank off of your product, aftermarket online, or selling it, or whatever it is. You might think to yourself, damn, man, I'm not getting any of that money. You think they feel that way? Perhaps, huh? All right, on that thought, this is LVO Tour of the Fancy Action Now. PlayStation 3 store, PlayStation Vita store, PSP store, going dark. And if you got the physical media, you're holding all the cards, baby. But if it's digital media you're after they close that, so sad, too bad. LVO Tour Fancy Action Now, more to come. Stay tuned. Peace out.